It's another evening here on the broadcast, and you know the deal.
What are you doing? What is that shit? It's another evening. What are you trying to new opening?
You just talking.
Okay,
I'm not.
Listen, man, that's different. I'm not
Why
used to
you
you
always?
doing
Why
that.
you always gotta be?
You can't control it.
Oh, you're trying to take Van Jones' spot. I get it.
No, I didn't.
You gotta cry though. You gotta cry.
No, I didn't start crying in this. I didn't start crying in my opening. So no, we are all right. You know, Van Jones is known to be crying all over the place. Anyway, so check this out. Check this out, man.
Oh shit.
As we're trying to grow our brand and grow our what we have here, this thing that we've birthed together, right? On occasion, I get people that solicit us to promote their products. So
I'm sure.
This week I was solicited by someone who asked us to promote their, and I'm not going to share their email because I'm not promoting them, but I also thought it was very funny.
Okay.
So apparently these people sell butt pillows.
If you don't get the fuck out of here.
And wanted us to so take a look at this.
I know I joke about the OnlyFans all the time, but we ain't selling sex toys all of a sudden, are we?
I know
we don't need sales that bad.
They made sure. Listen, they made sure in the email to specify.
I still work. You know what I'm saying?
They made sure to specify in the email that this is the most comfortable pillow that you're going to buy, and if you're a butt man, they go up to 56 inches in size, and it's the most comfortable pillow that you're ever going to purchase.
Does it have holes?
It's a pillow. What the hell?
It's shaped like an ass.
That's your first question. That's your first question.
Listen, man, it's shaped like an ass, and it comes in various sizes. Who's going to?
This is the smallest, and I said up to 56
their head on that ass. Do you
see what? What'd you say?
No one's laying their head on. Is that what y'all? Oh, y'all in some different shit. Okay. Okay. All right. Listen, man, if that's what y'all like. I ain't judging. You know, it's a new world. It's 2021. People like to lay their head on farty ass. Okay. Cool.
It sounds like you judging though. I'm saying, so when I bring that up specifically because I know that Elgin is a man of the people, a man that's of the people. Yes. And this sounds as though it's something right up your alley. So I'm going to forward you the email, and you can be one of their.
Oh yeah, bro, I'll be a spokesperson for them. Yeah, shit. Listen, man, I done sold ass before. So.
Oh boy, wow! Pimpin' Cat in the house. Jeez.
Elgin, we're going to take this conversation offline.
Confessions of the Raw Soul. Oh my God.
What's homeboy's name? He dresses in green.
Pause. Easy, fella.
Bishop Don Juan. You know what?
Solicitation is the right word now. That is the right word of the night. Solicitation.
So how much were they paying
the
for
massive solicitation?
So this is the part that's going to be the bastard of it. These pillows can be upwards of $200.
Get out!
Especially
if you're getting the thick pillow. That, as I said, it's like the thick 56-inch joint, which with two sleeves.
I mean,
that is completely unnecessary.
Come on, man. It's good money in selling ass out here. Let me tell you, OnlyFans.
What's up to the homie Kim Jones? Shout out to you, Mama. Shit. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We're gonna send you a pillow, Mama. Don't worry. I know that's on your bucket list. We're gonna send you a pillow.
Kim needs ass. I think she's all right. Okay.
We're gonna send it to Rod. Then we send it to the homie Rod.
These your homies, bro. I mean, you sending ass to other homies. I mean, hey, listen, I ain't judging you. It's 2021. Get down how you get down.
Whatever. Yes. Welcome. What's up? What is up? Back once again, it is the incredible In the Black podcast. And in case you weren't aware, this is a podcast dedicated to covering the current events and social issues going on in your Black world and covering it all from the perspective of three grown-ass men who knew to stay the hell out of DC during the inauguration. I am your host, Big O, Mr. In the Black himself. But as usual, you know I can never do this alone. Let me introduce the rest of Onyx. Crush, say what's up, man.
What's good, everybody?
No doubt. L, say what's up.
Hey, what's good, family? How y'all feeling?
Mm-hmm. I see you. And of course, if you're checking this out on, usually you got a lot more than that, but we're going to leave it alone tonight. And of course, if you're checking this out on YouTube, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way. And make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next video as well. But
man, and don't forget the Cash App. Come on now.
You see it rotating at the bottom.
You
see it rotating at the bottom. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, L, please tell these good folks how they can become part of the family if they want to become part of the family.
$sign In the Black podcast. No, but really, seriously, but Cash App. Go ahead over to our website, man, www.intheblackpodcast.com, and in the right-hand corner, become family tab. It should become a member of the family tab.
Why are you always? What is wrong with you?
We got to just get more money for us to be able to put the member in there.
Yeah, we got to add that extra part.
But on this, man, you can become a part of the family. We would really appreciate that. Scroll down, you can get swag. You can see all of Sean's cousins and shit modeling the shirts. Modeling to wear for us. Buy some of that to support the family because they got a model for Sean's website. So. Patreon, man, if you just want to donate, again, $sign In the Black PDCST. I'm gonna keep saying that shit. In the Black podcast. Donate, send money, send help. But that's what we got, man. Become a member of the family. We appreciate y'all.
No doubt. You are a reckless motherfucker. I swear to God, you just reckless.
25.
Yeah. So tonight, what we're going to do, we do not have a formal black box letter tonight, but what we are going to talk about is the history-making inauguration from yesterday that we had. We did finally swear in the 46th president of the United States, Joseph R. Biden Jr., and the first black and female vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris. Did you guys watch? What did you take from it? Because I really thought that there was going to be a lot of shit that popped off across the state, especially with the high alert that everyone was talking about, FBI, National Guard, all that other stuff. So did you guys watch, and what were your expectations?
Go ahead, Crush.
Well, I really didn't think there was going to be any drama across 50 states, for one. But I did get a chance to see the inauguration in pieces. It looked really nice. The Obamas are great. The little statement that all the presidents made, that was felt pretty heartfelt for that little president's club and everything. The performances were cool. I mean, J-Lo, there are other choices, but I guess you have to do what you have to do. But other than that, it was good. It was quite nice. Pretty good. And my man Bernie represented, obviously. So he shut it down, so that felt good too,
What about you, L?
No, I didn't watch this shit. Listen, man, I didn't watch, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't a political move, or wasn't.
Why you gotta be like that?
It was. Man, I've never watched an inauguration, bro.
You didn't even watch Obama's inauguration?
Fuck, I'm gonna watch. I've never watched an inauguration, bro. Listen, I've seen pictures. I was on social media. I saw everybody and their mama. I got a better playback on social media than y'all motherfuckers did by watching it on TV. Shit. But no, man, it just wasn't something that interests me.
That you were interested in. I can dig it.
It was funny that it was a total of like maybe 3 protesters across all the states, I think.
They said there was one
guy in New York. There was one dude in New York too. One dude.
Oh shit!
And what do you want? He said he drove 45 minutes to get there and was just looking for a peaceful protest. And he got there and it was crickets.
Nobody.
Yes, no doubt, Rod. I was hip to the yours, man. I was Anyway, sneakerhead talk. I'm sorry. That's sorry.
There goes that one listener we had.
But no, for real though, man. As I'm watching it, as I'm watching everything happen, I kept anticipating the worst. And I think that I don't know if that's necessarily just because of the events that happened on January 6th, or if it's also because of the media kind of hyping and building all of that up, or a combination of the two, right? But I kept anticipating something to happen. Even if it didn't happen at the inauguration, for them to cut and be like, breaking news, militia members stormed into Michigan's state capitol and blew that motherfucker up.
And I'd have turned right in. I'd have turned right in.
That's the shit you would have been watching. But yeah,
white people going wild. All
I
right.
kept anticipating something to happen, but when it didn't, I was like, okay, this is a moment for us to be able to, I guess, to embrace that moment. Specifically, at least for me anyway, it was really just the ascension of Kamala Harris and her being the first female and first Black vice president.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was something that I thought that was, something that should be commemorated, and I'm glad that they paid attention, because ultimately it brought so many other things to the forefront, like putting HBCUs on a national stage where they hadn't been seen before. And as a product of an HBCU, and I know Crush is a product of an HBCU, it made me feel some sort of way. We already know that you don't give two.
Ain't you in the house?
Yeah, no bullshit.
I treat the inauguration like the halftime show of the Super Bowl, bro. Is when I get up to go get my snacks, bro.
You this guy.
You got J-Lo who can't sing. Then you got Garth
that was a poor choice.
who show up with some nut huggers on.
Who can't sing?
J-Lo.
I wanted to make sure that they got you on the record, so all the hate mail goes to you.
Nobody else is going to.
I'll take some of that too.
Shit, thank you. About time.
No bullshit.
So Garth Brooks was just.
They should have had her up there.
Who?
Her.
That's her. H.E.
Oh,
yeah, they should have had her up there killing it. She would have killed it.
NPR all day. You know that.
Okay, since only two of us really watched it or paid attention to it, with this motherfucker right here, I'm gonna ask you, what do you anticipate going forward with this new administration? Because I know that there are a lot of people now that are butthurt, like Rod already said, QAnon and the Trumpers across the board are butthurt. I posted something earlier. There was a guy on TikTok that I guess he was arrested by the police for his actions, and he was begging Donald Trump to pardon all 2,000 plus folks that showed up at that showed up on January 6th because he asked them to show up. I thought that was one of the most interesting things that I'd seen. But what do you anticipate coming out of this administration? I think he started off. Elgin hates when I'm fair to people, but I'm going to be fair. Your man came off
a habitual fence sitter. Oh, splinter ass having dude. That's okay.
Why you got to talk to me like that when my mom is going to be watching? Anyway, so
I like your mom. It's a son that I don't like.
To be fair, like I said, to be fair, your boy Biden got into office and he jumped off with 17 executive orders off Jump Street. And I think it was a good start. But what do you guys think? What do you anticipate coming from the administration so far? At least within the first 100 days.
I don't have, again, let me put it this way. Per my own politics and own view, I'm looking at what is he going to do in the first 100 days, specifically and exclusively that affects predominantly Black communities and predominantly Black schools. So I'm measuring him according to that standard. Like, what are you doing there for that? So in using that standard, I don't expect anything direct and specific. But what I do expect is him to do things like the vaccination, pushing that out very quickly, getting people getting that. I expect him to do the eviction moratorium. I expect that to do. And those things as a byproduct will affect predominantly Black environments. But specifically and exclusively within the first 100 days, I don't expect him to do shit that's going to specifically and exclusively affect Black folk.
Interesting. Crush.
Yeah, I'm definitely inclined to agree with Elgin that his first 100 days will be focused on the distribution of the vaccine and the moratoriums that people need, as well as the unemployment and the stimulus. I think all that rolled out pretty quickly and fairly effectively over the next 3 or 4 months. But yeah, anything dealing with us as a community directly, that's going to be I feel like I already have concerns about the place that progressives are going to have in this administration, and there's already some bad signs around defund the police. Yeah, there's already some. I'm already getting a little riled up about defund the police right now, because I'm hearing some shitty attitudes from the Dems on this. So hopefully Joe can get is going to be sincere. Hopefully Sister Harris is going to get sincere about it and realize that this is not about semantics, but about real issues. That real resources that we need as a community. That's what defund the police is about. So hopefully, I think for us, the discussions will start happening after we get to at least 85% vaccination here. Discussion, mind you. Not action. Discussion.
And I think even to be more clear, part of my reason of not expecting him to have anything for Black folk is because he didn't have anything for Black folk going into the position. And again, I'm not trying to be disparaging towards him or Harris. It's just that their politics don't line up to meet
to your own.
Not only to my own, but to meet the needs of predominantly Black communities specifically. So I just think that's where it's going to begin to get really fuzzy for a lot of Black folks, because we've been in a position where we've been looking for another motherfucker sitting in the White House to do some shit for us. And if he does not, I don't know what our recourse is, but I think motherfuckers are going to be angry rather rapidly. That first 100 days.
We shouldn't expect anything in the first 100 days, to be honest with that. We have to be realistic. But our balance between patience and persistence will start to be renegotiated. Because that's I feel like you told that group of Black leaders, or quote unquote Black leaders, a few months ago, rather sternly. But at the same time, keep the talks going, keep the flow of communication going. Like it'll be bad if you just cut shit off. You know what I'm saying? But but at the same time, I do hope the flow of communication between us and the administration will be in place and active. That will count for something. It'd be different if nobody was getting through, if nothing was being taken in. But hopefully, we'll have a line.
I agree with Rod, who's joining us in our comment section, that I think that he's going to do as much as he possibly can do and be singing that Kumbaya and I love Black folks things, and he's really going to lean into that.
Gobble that shit up, though.
Well, we know. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, man, I'm gonna keep it all the way funky with you, my guy. I'm not anticipating too much. And it's not because necessarily that they cannot deliver, but historically, those things don't always align. Like we expect so much within those first 100 days, within the first year, within the first 2 years, and there are always things that we end up being told that, hey, can't be done for X, Y, and Z reason.
So we were celebrating yesterday because of what?
We're celebrating because, once again, a glass ceiling has been broken. So that's one thing.
But how does that glass ceiling affect? Come on.
You're saying how does it affect? It affects.
How does it make progress better for Black folks in America, these glass ceilings, when they're broken?
I think that breaking those glass ceilings shows an example for those people that are actually going to be able to see these examples and then be able to do the work down the road. So for the sister that sees her being sworn into office, seeing that she can possibly do the work, and she has the gumption and the, what do you want to call it, and the wherewithal and the fight to be able to make those changes that we've been fighting for, that we deserve. It's not always about in the current stance. We're always pushing for the generation that are behind us, right? At least in my estimation. Now, I know you always think I'm
I hate that representation shit.
I mean, but so you're telling me that seeing that representation and your daughter's looking at that doesn't mean anything?
What does that mean? They have no.
I'm asking, no. Don't shirk that.
I'm going to
answer that question.
They have no direct contact with a Harris. The only contact they ever will see of her will be on TV. So all the influence that they're going to see is going to be from the Black women in their lives directly. They have no idea of who Harris is, but we're so ingrained in love with this representation. But when we have the conversation, we don't even try to have the conversation about representation. We just kind of get scared and buck away from it and just say, hey, well, we need it because it breaks the glass ceiling. But breaking that glass ceiling does what for the overall Black collective? What does that do? What does representation do?
Because representation ultimately changes perspective and mind space. That when you have more influence in people within what do you mean where? In the political sphere.
But how has that affected us? Because this is not the first time we've had a Black person in high profile positions. Where has it affected us? How has it affected us?
I'm going to have to ask Kim to stay out of the comments. You're not going to just continue to give this dude props. He's not making no damn sense. Don't do that and have his head off.
Because you are, Johnny Politico. But that's cool. I mean, I dig it. But tell me, I mean, honestly, how does these things really affect us overall as a Black collective? These representations.
I think the way it does is an example when you look at people like Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley, those folks that that listen. You shirking and you making faces, but these are people that are willing to do the work. And the more you see people of influence and positions that are doing the work, it gives you the, what do you want to call it? It gives some. I won't say for all because I know it doesn't affect you, but it gives some that influence, the action narratives necessary to be able to take that next step. Dude, what's the homeboy in Baltimore? The new mayor of Baltimore, young 30 some odd kid. He was talking about how Obama influenced him to run for
But again,
office.
You're giving me individual examples. How does this affect
all of that stuff starts from an
individual's
point. All of it starts with an individual origin. You don't just start on a broad scale.
How it hasn't affected us, because it's not like we haven't had politicians in high ranking positions before who were Black. How does that help us? How has it helped us?
I mean,
because you wrapped up.
I'm good with it. You and I can be you my brother, so we can disagree without being disagreeable.
We got a whole show. Wouldn't this be the perfect platform to have a discussion on how this works and deliver it?
No, to be honest with you, I think that it takes getting new narrative or getting a new crop of folks inside, because once again, we've had people that have been molded in a particular way in the political sphere for a long time. People like Clyburn, for example. But when you have other folks like I said, Ayanna Pressley, you got Cori Bush, folks like that have a different mode of thinking, that are about the shits every single day. They're not willing to kowtow to the rest of these folks and bend and break. And the more folks you get like that, ultimately you push that mind frame out of politics, right? You don't think that's possible?
You don't push racism out by representation.
I get you. I can dig that. I can dig that. If you can't push it out by representation, ultimately the belief is that you get the influence and the numbers necessary to push it out. You don't think so? So when you have more people that show up in these spheres, you don't think that those numbers have any effect?
Well, first off, if they are if they have a Black perspective, meaning that they go into these positions looking to do things specifically and exclusively to a degree for Black folks, yeah, it'd be changed. But a lot of these politicians, they're in a whole different class state that they don't even recognize or look at themselves as someone who's Black. So, of course, they immediately go into it thinking that they're going to work for everyone and not
exclusively for Black people. Okay.
So, and then we can even go back and go to Sister Harris. I mean, folks were going crazy cheering for her yesterday. Dope representation. But when you look at her actual politics, okay.
So you feel that so I want to make sure that we're clear and that I have you on the record. You believe that even with that representation in office, that she's not going to lean in the right direction to create or help push effective policy for Black people.
She didn't lean that way when she was in a high position office in California. I have no expectation that she's going to do it when she goes into the White House. I think it might actually be a little bit more detrimental for us.
I can dig it. I think that, like I said, the first 100 days, as has already been said, is extremely imperative. They have to move as quickly, Dems being they, have to move extremely quickly, given the limit, not just the limited amount of power that they have, but before you know it, 2022 elections are going to be here. They'll only have power, full power, from the House, the Senate, and the White House, possibly until 2022. So if they want to get changes done, like weed legalization, the stimulus checks, all these other things that they've been clamoring about doing during the election of 2020, they got to act on it now. Now, how well they're going to be able to pass those policies, that's one of the things that gets me, because you have folks like Joe Manchin, who's in West Virginia, who claims to be a Democrat and has a D in front of his name, but votes with Republicans almost 50% of the time, and already said he's willing to throw a monkey wrench in the plans and stop people from getting another stimulus check as it is now. Talk less about the defund the police, talk less about getting our kids back in schools with the vaccinations and all those other things, talk less about the eviction moratorium and all those other things. So they have to move quickly. They have to be good politicians, for lack of a better description, do the handshaking that's necessary to get these things done. We'll see if they can do it within the next 100 days or not. So, all right, as we're talking about that, as one man was entering into the White House, another person was saying goodbye at the butt crack of dawn, disappearing before anybody could bust on the camera and see him and shit. So yesterday was the last day that Donald Trump was in office. And I thought it was kind of interesting because before he left office, besides what happened on January 6th, he was trying to actually mess up a lot of things within the country before he left. One of the things that he did in preparation for his leave, because he knew he was out, I believe he knew he was out, he created or helped to commission the 1776 report. Crush, why don't you go ahead and jump into that so we can get that squared?
Yeah, this report was intended to be a version of U.S. history that would, quote unquote, restore patriotic education in schools. Historians have largely condemned it, saying it was filled with errors and partisan politics, calling it a hack job and not a work of history at all. It's a work of contentious politics designed to stoke culture wars. Where they were pretty much trying to reshape the effect of slavery and several other key figures, and it wasn't even historically accurate or even expressed within historical canon. But the fact that the audacity of this of the guy to try and pull this off on his way out, I guess, is somewhat incredible. To say the least. I mean, it's just the sheer audacity of it. It's just, but then again, going back to the Central Park 5 shit, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. But the fact that he got commissioned together for this was crazy. But fortunately, Biden has pretty much shut the commission down.
Yeah. At least that's one good thing that he's done as he started.
But the fact that he got this far, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah. What do you think, L? Because I know that we talked about this briefly when you were mentioning it not too long ago on social media. So,
Well, the 1776 commission was in response to a couple of things.
Yeah,
It was in response to the 1619 uh,
project from the New York
historical
Times.
project
Yeah.
that was put out here a while ago that was
Yeah.
in its own way flawed and heavily critiqued.
Yeah,
But it was
wasn't
put
good.
out in response to that, but also was put in response to two other things. Uh, White evangelicals for the longest time have propelled and pushed and been one of Donald Trump's chief supporters, chief backers. Overwhelmingly in every election for Trump, they have been overwhelmingly the ones who have voted for him. But they've been in a battle with this thing that many people should be familiar with, and I hope you are. It's critical race theory, fathered by the great late Derek Bell. And it's this critical race theory that's this thing that has been infiltrating Christian circles. And white evangelicals and a lot of black Christians have been battling back and forth over the validity of critical race theory and whether it's the gospel and all these different things. So many of the people who were on this commission were people who were fighting against critical race theory and advocates and allies to white evangelicalism. But one of the things is when I began to research it and read the 76 trash was I was really disturbed, man, that many of the people who wrote this doggone thing, who was commissioned by Trump, were black folks. Like one of the chief writers for it, Carolyn Swain, black female, led the way, led the charge. So as much as criticism that I think the orange dude deserves, it's also fascinating how even in these positions where there's an actual racist component being pushed, how we still find black folks who are willing to align with said thing and push it and do the research and push this product out.
I you know what's funny? It's a conversation that we may need to also dive into in another episode in far more depth. But
It's a mental illness.
As talking about evangelicals, white evangelicals, we also have to take a look at black evangelicals as well.
Ooh,
and how black evangelicals on many instances don't see themselves, or I would say tier their blackness far below their Christianity, right? Which is very interesting. So you'll hear many black evangelicals say that they are Christians before they're black, or that they're patriots, they're Christian Americans before they're black. And I've never understood that. It's also interesting to see that when they attempted to roll this thing out, they chose the head Negro in token Negro in chief, Ben Carson, to roll it out, who is another black evangelical Christian. So the whole project in itself, or the whole report in itself, it was not only was it flawed, but you could see that it was intentionally geared to try and undermine the 1619 project.
Very much so.
And it was very disappointing to think that this thing that people call the original sin of America, that someone would effectively report what it means and the effects that it's had on not just black people in this country, but on America as a whole. And that in the administration would feel that it has no valid place, not just in schools, but in public discourse at all. I think that's something that we need to really delve into and take a look at. One of the things that I thought was even more interesting was, like, you see some of the comments from the report. They've asked all these intellectuals, these black intellectuals at that, all these college elites. And some of the quotes are like, "I don't know where to begin. This report lacks citation or any indication books were consulted. Which explains why it was riddled in errors, distortions, and outright lies."
Yeah. It intentionally watered things down. Like when people read it, if they choose to read it, when you get to the part of them speaking about the transatlantic slave trade and antebellum slavery, and you get to see the wording that they use. They water it down to make it more palatable for the intended audience. And I think there's a lesson here for us too, to understand how important propaganda is when it comes to conditioning, reinforcing ideas. Because this 1776 thing, man, was purely for his people. It was all for his base. What nobody in their right rabbit ass mind gonna read that shit and be like, "Oh my god,
this is the truth."
It was described as hero. It was described as hero worship.
Yeah. Carmen, I do not think that Ben Carson has a job, as he's since left. I think he was the last person to leave. He didn't even leave after the incidents of 1770 of January 6th. So that says a lot for him. And I think Kim is right. It does boil down to program. Or I should ask you guys, do you believe that Kim is right and that it ultimately is programming when we talk about Black evangelical Christians and how they view their place in the American sphere?
Oh, that's conditioning. Definitely. That's definitely conditioning.
Okay.
That is refined conditioning. Very refined, specific, and almost delicate conditioning.
It lines up with their theology.
It's demented.
Man, it matches up with their
psychotic,
theology. Like
you said, you said it matches up with their theology.
Yes, the base of the evangelical theology is nothing is higher than three things: the Bible, the church, and Jesus. Nothing, not your oppression, not your race, not your gender, not your economic status. Nothing is higher than those things. And if you're not living according to their standards of those two things, that's probably why you are oppressed, why you're in that economic status, why you're having those issues. Because if you just turn your life around, man, bruh, listen, man.
Sometimes as Elgin, you and I consider ourselves to be religious people in some capacity.
Sure.
And we have these conversations at times, and being on the spectrum where we are having conversations with actual devout Black evangelical Christians becomes difficult, because you try to you try to make the way to have these explanations of what it is that we are facing here in real time on earth. And the first response, typically, as you've already alluded to, is you're doing something wrong in your life. You need to turn your life around, give yourself wholly and completely and without thought to Jesus Christ. And that'll be the end result for everything.
So fucking heartbreaking, man.
I mean, it seems like they forego culture itself.
Oh, you have to. You ultimately accept.
That's a requirement?
Oh, yeah. It's literally you accept a whole new culture. Your culture becomes their brand and flavor of Christianity.
But isn't there a tenet about acceptance and
nah, bro? That all the tenets that we would use to combat that thinking would be turned on us as saying that we're just twisting and taking the Bible out of context.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Trust me,
it's a rabbit hole, man. It's scary.
Yeah, it's disheartening, because when you have that type of mental, and I'm not saying that these people have a mental disorder or anything like that. What I'm saying is that when you have that frame of thinking, it automatically drops a wall between you and the person that you're trying to have discourse with, and it becomes very, very, very difficult. So.
It's tragic. It's tragic. Yeah.
So now, given that we know that this has been commissioned already and it's been stopped by Joe Biden, do you think that it's already had its effects, or do we not care at this point because it's been decommissioned?
I don't think it's had its effects. I don't think it was as successful as he intended to do. And I think he might have just wanted to be a pain in the ass on the way out. He might have been trying to do whatever the case may be. But immediately, Biden had it removed from the White House website. So it's no longer up there. It's not, press statements have been pushed out all around saying it's trash. We're going with the 16th. So no, I don't think it had whatever the desired outcome was. Did it have that? No, I don't think people really paid too much attention to it.
Yeah.
I think most black folks said Donald Trump 1776 commission. Oh, that's bullshit. Pass.
Right.
But
I think
do you think he'll hold on to it as in his back pocket for something?
I think his people will.
I wouldn't doubt it whether or not they keep that report on hand for when they start doing what do you want to call it? Canvassing. Well, probably that too, but canvassing in these local municipalities as they start to try and get these school books redone. We've already seen evidence of them having their effects. Let's keep it 100. We've already seen evidence that happened.
Raw Hills already dealt with that shit before. They're not dealing with that shit again.
Exactly. They've had.
They're not having that shit again. I know them. McGraw Hill's not having that shit again.
Well, we'll see, because we didn't think that they would be the same people to say that slaves were, what do they call it? People that came, indentured servants, or people that came here to work.
They've been through so many corrections and retractions and lawsuits. Yeah, they're not dealing with that some group of idiots trying to reprint shit in schools. Nah.
Well, I from your mouth to God's ears, man. We'll see what happens, but I won't. I don't put too much stock in some of those things, man. To be very honest.
I feel you.
All right, so we're going to jump out of that. Annoying Orange has left the office, and we done with that dude. So
it's over.
Yeah, good riddance to all that. So
it's over.
With that being said, as we're seeing representation on one end with Kamala Harris and her breaking the glass ceiling, we look at the NFL. We look at the NFL right now, and we try to understand how come it seems like they have, outside of players, that they have a huge problem with representation in the NFL when it comes to positions of leadership. So, El, why don't you go ahead and take it over, man?
The NFL is over 65% black.
70% as of this year.
It's 70% as of this year, 70%, with less than 10, and we're going to be gracious here for a moment, less than 10 black men or women in power positions. Less than 10. And we're taking GMs and head coaches.
Yeah, that's correct.
And there's one particular name, Eric Bieniemy. Now, Eric Bieniemy was a star running back at the University of Colorado. Him and Cordell Stewart were in the backfield together. Eric Bieniemy was a monster on the field, man, played great, spent a little bit of time in the league, but climbed the ranks in the coaching sphere to end up being underneath Andy Reid. So now he's been with Andy Reid in the Kansas City Chiefs for a number of years, and he has everything. He's the offensive coordinator. So that means he's directly responsible for what the offense does and doesn't do. Man, every year that this dude has been in charge, made Alex Smith look all worldly, pre-messed up leg Alex Smith. Then he took a little known dude out of Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas, Patrick Mahomes, who was a gunslinger in college. Everybody expected him to have any great prospects and be the man. Man, he done turned this motherfucker into the best quarterback possibly ever at the end of the day. But there's been a number of coaching openings. My man has gotten zero come talk to us. He's gotten an interview or two here, but there has not been any intensity. It hasn't been any like, yo, you the man in Kansas City with the number one team for the past couple of years with the, doing all these great things. Bruh, he can't get a job. Now, some of the things that people have been speculating, that reasons why he hasn't gotten a job, there's been two things. Mm-hmm. Maybe he hasn't interviewed well.
Hold up, real quick. You see Carmen's question, right? Anybody know if that's true or not?
He has something that he's putting together. I think he bought McMahon's joint, Vince McMahon's
XFL.
It's true.
They haven't been doing it.
He did pour a ton of money into it. A ton of money.
He literally saved it because it was going out of business after the first year.
Mm-hmm. The marketing looks pretty slick.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad that you got that.
Yeah, one of the things is that maybe he doesn't interview very well. But for the 4 years now, 4 years he's been up for a head coaching job. So you mean to tell me in 4 years he hasn't refined his interviewing skills to come on? So interviewing well and he's had some past run-ins with the law decades ago. Like decades ago, we're talking
when
about
he was a kid.
We're talking about probably 15
early in his career. It wasn't.
So, but then
before his career.
No, during his career, but I
during
mean,
his career.
During his career.
He was still like in his early 20s at the time.
Early 20s. You got Urban Meyer, just got hired as a Jacksonville coach. Urban Meyer, who got fired from Ohio State University for improprieties. Matter of fact, Urban Meyer got fired because he knew that one of his coaches was repeatedly and consistently beating his wife, and Urban Meyer was complicit in covering up that story. And he got welcomed in Jacksonville and got paid in Jacksonville.
Well, you know,
so there's just
only white people get to fail up.
You know what's funny, man? No. I think keep it funky, my guy. It's 100% the fact, and you see that in the federal government a lot.
Fail up. Just fail up.
Maybe you see it in corporate America a lot too, where you see somebody who's too big to fail for the company ends up messing something up, and before you know it, they're either promoted, moved to a different department, and all that.
They can crash a car in the lobby and get a 10% bump the next month.
Yeah, my God, it's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
But there's rules in place in the NFL, quote unquote.
Yeah, about the Rooney thing. I heard it was adjusted.
How do you have the Rooney Rule and you make these? Some of these adjustments also are that he cannot interview until his season is over. So if it ends now or if it ends after the Super Bowl and the teams just happen to have chosen their people before then, I mean, what can you do? So,
but okay, whatever.
But there's no way to prove it though. You don't. They don't have an outside entity controlling this process and doing it.
Yeah, it's not an independent party. That's one of the worst parts.
So you got the NFL investigating the NFL or how the NFL is. You know, that's like a man cheating on his wife, but the man is the one who's handling the investigation. He's taking his own phone.
Bring the evidence right to you, Mom.
All this pushback is just. I mean, doesn't this get frustrating at one point?
But you know what I think what's more frustrating to me and fascinating to me is there's been a lot of white people in sports who have come out in support of him. But not
wait, though.
None of them have come out.
Wait, you don't believe them? You don't believe them, though, do you?
I believe his coach, like Andy Reid, came out and was like, "Yo, he should have a job." Like no bullshit.
Do you believe their support?
I believe their support, but they're not going to come out and say the reason why he's not getting a job is because of race. They won't
say it.
They won't. What they have said is, "Oh, that's really messed up." Like I listened to an Alex Smith interview, and he said specifically, "Yo, man, it's really bad how they treating Eric, man." And Carmen, a whole ass rapist. Listen, and when you know the story of what Roethlisberger did, my man came back and signed a larger contract.
Fail up.
Yes,
only.
No bullshit.
Matter of fact, in Roethlisberger's, in his early contract, he had a no motorcycle riding clause and rode a motorcycle and destroyed his knee, and they paid him more money.
Okay, let me bring another one to the table, man. Somebody was saying this when we announced that we were going to be having this conversation. Some folks reached out to me. We're having this conversation. Another person that seems to be dodging, or I won't say dodging, I apologize, who seems to be getting dodged in regards to getting a head position is Deuce Staley. Oh, yeah, he was assistant head coach, and he's been doing the damn thing for how many damn years? And
a head coach, assistant coach underneath Andy Reid.
They said that the whole team petitioned for him to like be the next coach after they fired the recent dude, and they hired some other clown,
Another young white dude without any head coaching experience came in, who was also an offensive coordinator in Indianapolis, came in and got the job. Duke Staley not only has been a coach there, Duke Staley was a star
Was a star player there. Yeah.
for the city. Like, you still can't get the job.
The only thing that you could even say, like, I think part of what has since transpired is that now they've focused not only on making it black head coaches, because currently I think there are only 2 black head coaches. There's a Hispanic, and there's the recent guy, someone that just got hired, who is like Arab American or something like that. So I think they're trying to effectively use the Rooney Rule. And you see I put that in quotes, effectively use the Rooney Rule. But you still have, like you said, Eric Bieniemy that's out there, that's been out there for years, that you would think most coaches, after they assistant coaches, head offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, especially if they were integral into winning a Super Bowl, they get snatched up the following year. They don't last like during that whole carousel thing. By the offseason, as soon as the Super Bowl season's over, they've already found a new place to go. So
you know how many coaches that have been coaching beside Eric Bieniemy under Andy Reid have gotten a head coaching job? They've been there. Man. 3. Do you know how the Rooney Rule came into place?
Yeah.
The Rooney Rule came into place by the late, great Johnny Cochran, who threatened to sue the NFL if they did not do something about their black coach hiring. He had a lawsuit on the table before he died. He was going to sue the NFL. That's how the Rooney Rule came into place. We needed somebody. Crump, stop bullshitting. Come on through. Never mind, Crump. Don't come through because you bullshitting. We need somebody. That's what it took. It took an outside lawyer to threaten the NFL with suing them. And you know, when you sue somebody, all that shit comes out in the world.
It's called the discovery process. They're going to pull all your emails, all your files, all your everything, and look at you for the past 20 some odd years and see why you've been effing up.
Why you been a racist for all these years?
Well, you've been a racist for forever. because it pays them to be a racist, man. Look at what they're doing to look what they're doing to Deshaun Watson in Houston. I think that's anyway.
And Deshaun Watson wants a black coach. Eric Bieniemy, black coach.
And they told that dude kick rocks.
Nope, kick rocks.
Deshaun is like, kick rocks. It's all right. We're not going to do that.
All right. So what do you franchise quarterback?
And they already paid him the bag though.
Did he go?
So they thought that because they paid him the bag that he's just going to sit there and be like, nah. Anyway. So do we anticipate Eric Bieniemy getting a job after the Chiefs win their second Super Bowl? Because I anticipate they're going to win a second Super Bowl.
They're going to win.
Yeah, no bullshit.
I think the jobs are going to be filled by the time the Super Bowl comes. It's one head coaching job left, and that's Houston. It's going to be filled before the Super Bowl is over.
So this is the reason why I asked. I think because of the pressure that Houston's currently facing, specifically with trying to keep Deshaun Watson, that there is a slim hope that they could pull Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy and Deshaun Watson,
bruh, you got a winner there, bruh.
My guy. I think that would be incredible. But like you said, they can't interview him until after they get out of the season. So they might have already found their person. You know how most of these things work. Just like what did Washington do when they pulled Gruden's brother? They talked to that dude for 5 minutes and hired him. Didn't interview anybody else. It was like, all right. They had like 4 or 5 other interviews on the books. They sat down with this dude for 5-10 minutes. It was like, nah, this is our guy. And he ended up stinking it up. Like his record was like 10-56, some bullshit.
Worse than his brother's record.
I wanted Watson, to all jokes aside, I want Watson to go to the Jets, but I want him to go to the Jets.
Bro,
but I would never want a black person to be in such a bad
Washington. I want him to see it go to Washington football team is where I want him
discovery
to go.
Stage. Like I said, discovery, man. You got to go through that discovery stage. All the dirt comes out in the wash. All right. Right about now is the time that we'd like to give you little tidbits of news and words of wisdom that you can take with yourself into the week. So, Crush, what's up, man?
This one, send a quick shout out to Jay-Z, who is taking things a little further with his is an investment in the cannabis industry. He is launching a fund to invest in minority-owned cannabis startups to bolster Black participation in the industry.
The cannabis industry, if you have investments in cannabis groups or cannabis stock, you've seen a sizable bump in your stock since the inauguration. So, like I said, your folks got your folks got 100 days to get active and do what they need to do and sign them bills, man, because people are waiting. So we'll see. L, what's up, my guy?
Hey, man. The pandemic, we're still in the midst of one. I need folks to wash their hands, wear your mask, social distance. And if you are in a category where getting the vaccine is an option for you, get it. But really just want to encourage people to still be mindful. Don't let all these crazy folk out there you see on social media gathering and doing all this other wild shit at Bow Wow concerts and shit like that. You know,
man, look, I've seen so many shows and parties, especially down south in Florida and shit like that. I'm like, man, they don't care. They just don't care.
It ain't just the clears, bro. It ain't just the clears out there doing it. We out there doing that shit too, bro.
Oh, Philly? Oh, man.
Black folks, man.
I mean, well, you know, Philly niggas still got the waves in their beard, so why wouldn't you expect them to be out there with that foolishness?
Look, that is a crisis. That is a crisis, man. That is a crisis for them right there, okay? They need intervention for that shit.
So they need to be shot in the face.
Need to be drawn and quartered.
But just be safe out there, man. Be safe, please.
Rita, I see you. Yes, cannabis stocks are rising. Please, if you put some options that I can jump into and get my money up inside of the comments. What's up for me this week is that recently, after the incidences of January 6th, the military is starting to take a closer look at recruiting practices as well as who is involved or who they allow into the military. They said they did not believe that they had such a problem with white supremacy, neo-Nazi groups, and so on. But as someone who's former enlistment, and I know L former enlistment, anybody who served in the military would tell you that was common knowledge decades ago. Bro, so for this report to now come out and be like, okay, we have these members of these anti-American militia groups, neo-Nazi white supremacist groups in the military, or at the number that they are currently investigating or seeing, kind of blows my mind that they were so naive. I won't even say naive. Okay, my bad. I will be nice and say naive, because to be honest with you, I think it was just them ignoring it completely.
I was stationed with cats, man, who had the Confederate flag hanging up in their rooms.
My God.
Didn't they send 12 guys home from the forces by the White House?
Yeah, they sent them out.
Well, no, they sent not home, but they kicked them out pretty much, I think.
Yeah, they relieved them from duty at that point.
Yeah,
they
relieved them from duty.
12 so far.
They're going to Leavenworth for a little while, bro.
Yeah. For a little bit, for their ties to some of these groups.
So they're going to be interrogated. Yeah.
You know what? To be very honest with you, man, I don't know what the military can do, though. Like, how do you weed that out? Because these folks, as they're trying to infiltrate the military, and they're infiltrating them for a reason. And many of these groups also, they recruit either active and former military to join their militia groups.
Perfect ground to do that.
So how does the military end up weeding these people out? To be very honest, because what they're trying to do is to look at these ties to different people that they may have, but these groups are going to become more sophisticated. You know that they're looking. You know what I'm saying?
But so how do you weed them out? What do you do to them that doesn't directly negatively affect Black folk? Because any idea that you give them to weed those groups out, that's the same shit they're going to do to us. If they begin to look at their social media, they're going to look. It just so has to be so. I don't have any idea how to do it, but it's so ingrained in white people to be patriotic in the military, to be a cop, a crossing guard, some shit where I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Listen, I know when I enlisted, man, I got to boot camp and I said, you know how you're sitting in the barracks and you're having these conversations, and we start talking about why we all enlisted. And I know I enlisted to go to school. That was my primary focus, was to go to school, right?
Get out the hood.
I can't tell you how many, I can't even count on my hand how many dudes, on hands and feet, how many dudes that I talked to, they were like, it's in my blood. I needed to do it for the country.
Dude.
They were ready. It's like, if they didn't do it, they felt like they weren't part of America. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, part of that you can respect and understand, but some of that devotion and that high level of attention,
nationalism,
it comes across as kind of scary. It comes across as kind of worrying, because those are the same dudes, like you said, that end up joining these militias. You're like, okay,
nationalistic shit.
Yeah. All right, Crush. Where can these people find you if they'd like to find you, my guy?
Come check me on Instagram at SB Methods, aka Bridge, or the Orange Crush. Yeah, pretty much that.
No doubt. L, where can the good folks find you if they'd like to find you, man?
Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Elgin Bailey.
I appreciate it. The first time you've actually said that instead of telling them that they see it on the screen. So I appreciate you behaving tonight.
I got to need love from somebody, so I want to be nice to them.
See,
they colorblind, so they can't see the shit. So
oh my God. Whatever. And I'm Big O, Mr. In the Black himself. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at MR_in the Black. And I want to thank you guys once again for joining us for another incredible episode of the In the Black podcast. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to kick with us, and we appreciate it. Make sure that you follow us across all social media at In the Black PDCST, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and as always, informed, intelligent, in the black.
In the Black.
Come through.
No doubt.
Peace.